you have Merab as your bantamweight GOAT, you're crazy, right? Maybe if he does a little bit more, maybe if he actually goes and fights Umar and defends it, then yeah, reasonable. But the guy don't want to fight Umar, man. He's scared. Motherfuckers out here calling out Petr Yan, who he dominated, and Sean O'Malley, who he dominated. Motherfucker, go and fight Umar Nurmagomedov. You're crazy. And people that have him in their top 15, top 10, Lucas Tracy, are you laced? Are you high? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What UFC are we watching? Like, I'm convinced sometimes, me and some of the other people that watch UFC, we're not watching the same fucking thing. Because why is Merab in your top 15? Are you crazy? So bantamweight GOAT, I'm giving it to Petr Yan, right? Like, what? Like, you know, a lot could change in under a year. Time moves very quickly.
I have Georgian balls.
So here I am today. UFC just announced earlier today that Merab is going to be defending his title for the 4th time this year against Petr Yan in a rematch in December at UFC 320. Now, if you've been watching my channel long enough, about a year ago, I made a video where I said if you have Merab as your bantamweight GOAT, you're crazy, and I called Petr Yan the bantamweight GOAT. 2 weeks ago, I was watching UFC 3 whatever at this point. I don't be remembering these things. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. And in the co-main event, we have Merab Dvalishvili versus Cory Sandhagen. And I'm a big Cory Sandhagen fan. Can raise the focus. I'm a big Cory Sandhagen fan, right? Going into the fight, I don't know why I thought in my head that Cory Sandhagen had a chance against Merab Dvalishvili. And I remember the feeling of watching in real time as I started to realize, yeah, there's nobody who could beat Merab.
Mills, I want to be a doctor when I grow up.
Nigga, did I just catch you wanting to be shit?
Sweet Jesus! Lord have mercy!
And as I see this fight be announced today, and mind you, this is his 4th defense. He just defended the belt like 2 weeks ago. I'm not even kidding. As I record this, it's been 2 weeks since he fought Cory Sandhagen. He is going to be defending it against Petr Yan. Now, Merab Dvalishvili was just as surprised as I was when this announcement was made.
Telling me my year, and he just announced that you are the main event of
Because 4 defenses in 1 year is a lot, even for a guy like Merab Dvalishvili. But that being said, I'm not gonna complicate this. I said Petr Yan was the bantamweight GOAT. I'm gonna go back completely on what I said. Merab is the bantamweight GOAT, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I was wrong. So wrong. He beat the shit out Umar. Then he finishes Sean O'Malley in the 2nd fight. And then he almost knocks out Cory Sandhagen. Why am I to believe going into this fight against Petr Yan, who he beat pretty convincingly in the 1st fight? Why am I to believe going into this 2nd fight that there is anything different about this from the 1st fight? On top of Merab becoming better between the 1st fight and this one, I think he's had like, what, 6 fights since then? He fought Sean twice, Cory Sandhagen. I think he fought, since then, Henry Cejudo. He fought everybody. At this point, he's basically cleared out bantamweight. But, you know, I just think that Merab is going to beat everybody that you put him up against in bantamweight. And I just think that this is a fight that they needed to book. And they're treating Merab like Pereira. They're just like, hey, Merab, you know, you want to fight? We got this pay-per-view in December. You can fight Petr Yan. I know you say you want to fight Petr Yan, man. Come. Hunter's probably on the phone like, Merab, listen, I know you just fought. You literally just fought like 2 weeks ago. Merab, listen, clutch up for me, my boy. We got that big check for you. Come fight Petr Yan. I know you want to fight Petr Yan again. Get that money.
I have Georgian balls.
If I was Merab and I knew I could do what I did to Petr Yan, I could do it a second time, I would absolutely take this fight. Merab is going to run through Petr Yan, and based on what I saw between the first Sean O'Malley fight and the second Sean O'Malley fight, he has a very good chance of finishing Petr Yan. I just had to watch him almost knock out Cory Sandhagen. For as long as I've been watching Merab Dvalishvili fight, I have never once thought for a second in my mind he's going to knock the other person out. He almost was this close to knocking out Cory Sandhagen.
Lord have mercy, but
Mind you, a guy who was never knocked out before. I can't even look at this fight seriously and be like, you know, Petr Yan, outside foot battle, the body kicks, the Muay Thai, the clinch. I can't look at him and I can't look at this fight and be like, yeah, Petr Yan has a chance. Merab is going to run through him. Merab is the fighter of the year. He's absolutely just ran through everyone he's been fighting against this whole year. Ran through Umar, embarrassed Sean O'Malley, ran through Cory Sandhagen, and I believe he's going to just run through Petr Yan. I'll be very shocked if I'm wrong about this, but I'm at the point, you know, where I can accept that I'm wrong about some things, right? You know, the first step in moving on and becoming a better person is realizing when you're wrong and owning up to your mistakes. You know what? I'm going to own up to my mistake where I said that if you have Merab Dvalishvili top 15, you're wrong. I think he's top 15, right? If you're the GOAT of your division all time, I think, I think you got to be at least top 20, top 15, right? There's not a lot of people I'd put over you. That being said, is he over Dominic Cruz? I already spoke about this. I have a whole video talking about this. He was 100% over Dominic Cruz, right? And is he over Petr Yan? If you beat a guy twice, and he hasn't beaten him the second time yet, but you know what? I can see the future. I can feel it. Merab Dvalishvili, 50-45 decision, ladies and gentlemen, right? Other fights that were announced today, my boy Peyton Talbott fighting Henry Cejudo in what is apparently his retirement fight. Henry Cejudo, I know you want to hang it up. I know you want to go be a podcaster with Kamaru Usman, but man, I don't think this was the fight for you to end it on. That being said, I don't care about Henry Cejudo, right? What I do care about is my boy Peyton Talbott finally getting a ranked spot, right? Do I think the UFC is kind of pushing him up pretty quickly? Yeah, you know. I've seen other fighters fight for a long time and they're still trying to get a ranked spot. But you know, I'm not hating. Peyton Talbott is that guy. He's shown us that he's that guy. He's fighting Henry Cejudo, who is Henry Cejudo, and he's going to probably be wrestling. But Henry Cejudo's old and washed, and he'd rather be behind a mic with Kamaru Usman and Terrence Crawford and Bilal Muhammad, right? So, you know, I saw his fight with, Aljamain. He looked kind of okay against Aljamain. I saw his fight with Merab. Merab just little boyed him. I saw his fight with Song Yadong. Song Yadong just made him look stupid until he got eye poked. What do I think Peyton Talbot's going to do? I just think Peyton Talbot is probably going to knock out Unk, unfortunately, right? It's his retirement fight. Do I really care about Henry Cejudo that much going into this fight? Not necessarily. I'm also not going to overthink this. Peyton Talbot's young. He's looking to get, back in there. He got back in there against Felipe Lima. I did pick him against Felipe Lima, even though I didn't make a video. But, just take my word for it. He is in my YouTube banner, so I am a fan of Peyton Talbot, right? But that being said, I think Peyton Talbot's going to beat Henry Cejudo. I think Henry Cejudo is washed. I think Peyton Talbot is, my boy. We're going to see some Frank Ocean in there. We're going to be doing some, knees and shit. Usual Peyton Talbot things. Afterwards, make a vlog. Talk about how he had to go do some yoga with Frank. And, they had to get real intimate and freaky. But that being said, I have Peyton Talbot winning this. Some other fights that got announced because, Big Baldy got cooking up in that war room, right?
I want to oil you up. What the fuck does that mean?
This is just scratching the surface, right? I know I'm pretty hyped for Peyton Talbot fighting Henry Cejudo. But ladies and gentlemen, stop the presses. We have Joshua Van fighting Alexandre Pantoja. And if you know me, you know I am a fan of Alexandre Pantoja. But ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Van is coming, and he's coming to hot. Camera focus. There we go. He's coming in hot against Alexandre Pantoja because he wants that belt, and he wants to be the second youngest champion since John Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, I have watched Joshua Van's career from the first fight he's had all the way up until now, and I'm so proud and happy for this man. Y'all have no idea. Big Joshua Van fan. I am a part of the Van Lee. I am a part of the Van fam. I'm a Vanner. I'm a Van Pat. I'm a Van maniac. I'm a Vaniac. I'm a motherfucking Josh. You know, I'm a Josher. I'm a bit of a Josher myself, ladies and gentlemen. And what I mean by that is I think Joshua Van is going to beat Pantoja. Why do I pick Joshua Van against Pantoja? You know, I have no reason to. I'm a big Pantoja fan. Don't get me wrong. I've seen every Pantoja fight, right? I've been watching him, you know, all of his title fights from Moreno up until who'd he fight most recently? God, Kai Kara France. That's right. I was gonna say Kai Sakura, but he did fight Kai Kara France. He just made him look stupid. This is what he does. This is what he's good at. But Joshua Van is who he is, ladies and gentlemen, and I think he's going to show that he is who he thinks he is, because he is who he thinks he is. Joshua Van is exactly who we think he is as his fans, and we are going to beat Alexandre Pantoja in December at UFC 323. We are going to be the flyweight champion, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to knock out Alexandre Pantoja. Oh man, why am I picking Joshua Van? Baby, I'm going for vibes. Let's go Joshua Van, man. Anyways, that being said, we're not done. Baldy got cooking. We have I look at my phone. There was a lot of fights. We got Moreno versus Taira. Taira, you know, he's a Mexican slayer. Tried going against Brendan Royval. Brendan Royval's a Tex-Mex. He's not really fully Mexican. He gave him that American beatdown. But Brendan Moreno is from Mexico, trains in Mexico, lives in Mexico. And I think Lego Boy is going to break the streak because Brendan Moreno is Brendan Moreno, right? Taira is good. I think Taira is pretty, good on the ground. But I think his striking, if he hasn't improved much since the last time we seen him, I just think that Moreno is going to show him levels. I think he'll be doing a good job at defending the grappling. And I think on the feet, I think it's just a wash. Moreno is going to piece him up. And I see Moreno winning a decision, right? I don't think he'll knock out Taira. I don't think Moreno has that pop to where he can knock a guy out. But then I look at Moreno's most recent fights against people like Albazi and Steve Erceg, and he's hitting the second win. He's looking fast. He's putting the boxing together. I know what the UFC is doing, right? They want Moreno to fight on this card that Pantoja's fighting on, because they don't know who's next at flyweight. Pantoja wins, Moreno wins. Alright, cool. We gotta do the fifth fight now, the fourth fight, however fucking many fights they've had at this point, right? If Van wins and Moreno wins, alright, cool. Moreno, here's your shot back at the title, Van versus Moreno. And I think they're gonna do that fight way back when, right? If Taira wins and Pantoja wins, the bad universe, I don't think anyone really is expecting that. But then, now you can do Pantoja versus Taira, right? So you got some options, right? On top of those two fights, I also saw the other day that they announced for the 1,000,000th time at this point, rebooked, booked, canceled, remade, whatever it may be, Cop versus Royval. I'm sure if that fight happens, it'll be a good fight. But I'm looking forward to seeing Royval versus Asuam Abayev on a 2 days notice in the Apex, right? But that being said, I'm picking Moreno by decision with that. Other fights that got announced: Michael Morales versus Sean Brady for UFC 322 MSG. Looking like a stacked card. We have a really unfortunate co-main event You know, ladies gotta get their shine. But the main event's beautiful. JDM versus Islam. I think, you know, JDM's gonna knock out Islam. Hot take, but video coming soon about that. And I think Carlos Prates is gonna put Leon Edwards to sleep. And I just think Michael Morales is that guy. And I think he's gonna just beat the shit out Sean Brady. I don't think Sean Brady's all that good. If he's watching this, you know, Sean Brady, don't beat me up. But I think Michael Morales is gonna win that fight. I think Michael Morales can do a good job defending the ground, defending against the cage, defending the clinch. He did a good job with that in the Neil Magny fight. And, you know, Sean Brady's no Neil Magny. He's no Gilbert Burns. But even then, I still think that Michael Morales is going to be able to defend the grappling. And I think he's just too dangerous. I think if he finds Sean Brady, he's going to hit him really hard and really strong. He's a freak athlete. Michael Morales is fucking built like an Amazonian warlord, and Sean Brady's built like a guy that goes to my gym in the jiu-jitsu classes, right? But that being said, I think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think Sean Brady could win, but I think it's probably going to be Michael Morales. He's still undefeated. I don't see Sean Brady changing that. Terrence McKinney versus Chris Duncan. Rest in peace to my boy Terrence McKinney, you know. Another one of my favorite guilty pleasure fighters. If I make a second guilty pleasures video, I'll probably put Terrence McKinney in there. But, you know, Terrence McKinney is going up against a guy like Chris Duncan, who can knock him out in 30 seconds or less. And, you know, I think Chris Duncan, that being said, is a guy who Terrence McKinney can knock out in 30 seconds or less. So either way you look at it, someone's getting knocked out in 30 seconds. And another fight that was kind of announced was Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. I don't really care too much about that fight. Y'all know what I'm really interested in. I literally spent the whole video talking about it. But it was announced nonetheless, and I think Bogdan Guskov is good and is dangerous and is fast. So I'll pick Bogdan Guskov to win that fight, right? That being said, going back to the main topic of this video, Merab Dvalishvili. To sum it all up, I think this is his year. He's right now, based on activity, I can comfortably say he's probably the best fighter in the world right now. And I think he should be pound for pound, probably neck and neck with Topuria. I think being a two-weight champion is pretty fucking crazy. And beating the people who he beat to get to that point is pretty fucking crazy. And I know he's fighting apparently Gaethje soon, so who knows how that goes. But I think Merab, you know, if I could go back to a year and talk to myself and just show myself the things that Merab has done, I think I'd be very shocked and very amazed, because I had no idea Merab was going to do any of this. I thought Sean O'Malley was going to beat him in a rematch, and we were going to be having Umar versus Petr Yan for the belt, right? But, you know, it's funny how things could change in a little under a year. And here we are today in this reality where Merab's third pound for pound and is probably the greatest bantamweight of all time. That sounds crazy to say, right? But with the strength of schedule he's had and the people he's beaten and potentially is going to beat, and how active and how long he's going to stay active, I do not think that there is going to be a bantamweight better than Merab Dvalishvili, ladies and gentlemen. Unless his name is Peyton Talbott, boys. Peyton Talbott by knockout against Henry Cejudo, man. Bet the house. But that being said, you know, if you appreciate this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're getting back to more consistent uploads. I'm trying to talk about more general sports content, not just MMA. So if you like videos like that, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you're staying tuned for more videos. That being said, my name is IHYDIOR, aka Christian, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.